Greetings, fellow adventurers. Welcome to Euthenia Travels, your source for all things worldly and beyond. Today, we're embarking on a journey of discovery into the complex web of relations between the United States and Russia, two global superpowers with a storied history of tension and conflict. As we begin our journey, we'll dive deep into 10 shocking, well-explained reasons why America is not fond of Russia, revealing hidden truths and long-held grudges that have shaped the course of history. To kick things off, let's take a step back and examine one of the most defining events in U.S.-Russia relations, the Cold War. The Cold War, this period of tension and conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union lasted from the end of World War II until the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. The two sides never directly fought each other, but they were engaged in a struggle for political and ideological dominance, with proxy wars and espionage operations taking center stage. Moving forward, let's dive into the next reason why America is not fond of Russia: interference in U.S. elections. In recent years, there has been mounting evidence of Russian interference in U.S. elections. This includes the hacking of Democratic National Committee emails in 2016, the use of social media to spread disinformation, and attempts to hack into U.S. voting systems. The U.S. intelligence community has concluded that these efforts were directed by the Russian government, and they have been a major source of tension between the two countries. Moving on to another point of contention between the U.S. and Russia: economic disparity and corruption. Russia is a country with vast natural resources and a rich history, but it also has a deeply unequal economy and a high level of corruption. The country's oligarchs and government officials have amassed vast fortunes, while the average Russian struggles to make ends meet. This economic disparity has fueled resentment against the Russian government and contributed to a sense of disillusionment with the country's leadership. Now let's delve into a key factor in the U.S.-Russia relationship: the arms race. Despite the end of the Cold War, both the U.S. and Russia have continued to invest heavily in their military capabilities. This includes the development of new nuclear weapons, advanced missile defense systems, and hypersonic missiles. While arms control treaties have been negotiated in the past to limit the proliferation of nuclear weapons, recent tensions between the two countries have led to the breakdown of these agreements, raising concerns about a new arms race. As we continue to explore the complex web of relations between the U.S. and Russia, let's take a closer look at another important factor: cyber warfare. In recent years, Russia has emerged as one of the world's leading cyber threats, with its military and intelligence agencies conducting sophisticated cyberattacks against the U.S. and other countries. These attacks have targeted everything from critical infrastructure to political organizations, and they have raised concerns about Russia's willingness to use cyber warfare as a tool for espionage and sabotage. Another area of tension between the U.S. and Russia is energy politics. Russia is a major producer and exporter of oil and gas, and it has used its energy resources as a tool for political influence. The U.S. has criticized Russia's use of energy as a weapon, particularly in its relations with Eastern European countries like Ukraine and the Baltic states. At the same time, Russia has opposed U.S. efforts to develop alternative energy sources and reduce dependence on Russian oil and gas. Let's shift our focus to a more recent development in the U.S.-Russia relationship: Russia's support for the Assad regime in Syria. Russia has been a key ally of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, providing military support to his regime in its brutal war against opposition forces. The U.S. and other Western countries have condemned Russia's support for Assad, which they argue has prolonged the war and caused immense suffering for the Syrian people. Moving forward, we come to another contentious issue in the U.S.-Russia relationship: the Magnitsky Act. In 2012, the U.S. Congress passed the Magnitsky Act, which imposed sanctions on Russian officials involved in human rights abuses and corruption. The act was named after Russian lawyer Sergei Magnitsky, who was imprisoned and died in custody after exposing a massive tax fraud scheme. Russia has vehemently opposed the Magnitsky Act, which they view as an attack on their sovereignty and a violation of their internal affairs. The next reason for U.S. mistrust of Russia relates to its interference in neighboring Russia's interference in Ukraine. Russia has long viewed Ukraine as part of its sphere of influence, and it has worked to undermine the country's sovereignty and independence. In 2014, Russia annexed the Crimean Peninsula and supported separatist rebels in eastern Ukraine, leading to a prolonged conflict that has left thousands dead and displaced millions of people. The U.S. and other Western countries have condemned Russia's actions and imposed sanctions on the country in response. Continuing our exploration of U.S.-Russia relations, let's turn our attention to the issue of Russia's support for authoritarian regimes. Russia has shown support for authoritarian regimes around the world, including Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Belarus. This support has contributed to tensions with the U.S. and other Western democracies, which view these regimes as threats to democracy and human rights. As we approach the end of our journey, let's examine one final reason for U.S. uneasiness with Russia: Russia's anti-American propaganda. Russia has engaged in a systematic campaign of anti-American propaganda, seeking to undermine U.S. credibility and influence around the world. This propaganda has been spread through state-controlled media outlets and social media networks, and it has fueled anti-American sentiment in many countries. Information about Russia's anti-American propaganda, social media campaigns. Russia has used social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter to spread misinformation and sow division among Americans. This has included the creation of fake accounts and the promotion of extremist views on both the left and right of the political spectrum. State-controlled media. Russian state-controlled media outlets like RT, formerly Russia Today, and Sputnik News have been accused of spreading anti-American propaganda and disinformation. As we conclude our deep dive into the 10 shocking reasons why America is not fond of Russia, it's clear that the relationship between the two countries is complicated and fraught with tension. From political meddling and cyberattacks to human rights abuses and support for authoritarian regimes, there are many factors that contribute to the mistrust between the U.S. and Russia. Despite these challenges, it's important to remember that diplomacy and dialogue remain critical to addressing these issues and avoiding further conflict. I hope you found this documentary informative and thought-provoking. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the world of U.